And we are back on the Sleepless Pod.
We are back, baby.
Yes, we are. And this week we are joined by Arnold
Yeah, Arnold Fidelino from Sovereign State.
from Sovereign State. Yeah, so
Yes.
I guess to start, Arnold, do you want to introduce yourself a little bit?
Yeah, I'm a partner in the brand design consultancy that was part of the process of launching this brand with you guys.
Yeah.
Um, Again, our brand studio is called Sovereign State. My business partner, Joel Gregorio, had started the business about maybe 13 years ago, and I jumped on board about 10 to 11 years
Okay.
ago. So I've been there for quite a bit of time, taking on, maybe the more practical business aspects of Sovereign State, and Joel handles more of the creative portion or quotient of the business.
Gotcha. Yeah, because I think I was looking at your LinkedIn there earlier today. And I think, am I right in saying you kind of started off with a bit of a sales background?
Yeah. A far stretch from where I am now, for sure.
Right.
In a past life, I want to say about 20 something odd years ago, maybe 22, 23 years ago, I started as a sales representative for a website company in Toronto.
Okay.
I helped grow that. Initially started as a sales person, making $12.50 an hour plus commissions after university.
Wow.
I mean, no one made that for sure there. That was just like, I guess, just to put in place for people to know that they would get paid if nothing happened.
Right.
But yeah, I was doing that I was at the company for about 12 years. So I initially started in sales. I became a sales manager and then a sales director and then later turned operations director. So
Okay.
that's over a 12-year span.
And how did you, when did you make your jump into the sort of design world, as it were?
Well, I mean, things didn't pan out at the company that I was at. Again, I was there for 12 years. It was a fairly long tenure. I started there when I was 26,
Okay.
right? So I left at 38. And I mean, it wasn't the best of terms for sure. Just, differences of opinions, I guess.
Right.
And Joel was my best friend.
Okay.
And has been my best friend for a very, very long time. And he had asked me, knowing of my departure at the company that I was at, to come and join him at Sovereign State.
Okay.
So that was 11 years ago, 10 or 11 years ago.
Wow. So how long do you reckon you two have known each other then in total?
Interesting fact.
Did you grow up together?
No, not at all. Actually, how I end up meeting Joel is a funny story. I worked as a bartender server at a restaurant, a prominent restaurant in Toronto, more of like a mainstream restaurant, to be honest with you. And I worked with a girl who was a very good friend of mine at the time, who married one of Joel's very good friends as well. And they had always said to me and Joel, I'm assuming, that we should meet each other.
Okay.
Because we're very similar, had similar tastes, and interests. And we just never got to it. For 5 or 6 years, they were telling us we should meet each other.
Right.
And we were actually invited to his bachelor party, Joel's friend's bachelor party in Vegas, and we were actually going to meet then. But I couldn't go because I just bought a house and I couldn't afford to go.
Right.
It wasn't till I was on a mountain biking trail that Joel's girlfriend at the time reached out and said, let's go mountain biking. And Joel was really into mountain biking, always has been since he was in high school.
Okay.
And then we just hit it off from there. So that was probably in our 30s, but we should have met in our 20s.
Okay.
Probably for the best, though, because we would have been dead by now, for sure. or a lot earlier.
Too much fun. It
was a little bit crazy.
Okay.
I mean, we lived very colorful lives, for sure. And why we started our families later on in life. So,
right.
as you guys know, I have had my first kid
Yes. Yeah.
21 months ago today.
Yeah.
And Joel just had his first baby 9 months ago yesterday.
Well, yeah.
Funny, our kids were supposed to be born on the same day.
Wow.
But Tala, Joel's baby, came a little bit earlier, one day earlier.
That's it. You guys are sort of almost life partners yourselves now.
It's yeah, it's like, I mean, it's been an interesting road to here for sure.
Right.
Lots happened
Yeah.
to get us here.
And how do you balance, like, or is there a balance between being work partners and friends? Because I know certainly that's something Tom and I are going through as well. We've known each other for many, many years, and it's like that. Is there ever a balance, or do you always just keep it on the same kind of level?
That's a super
Good
interesting question.
Yeah, good question.
There's a couple of things. I think a big reason why Joel and I work together, both as friends and professionally, it really is couched in our values and who we are as people. That we know that we can trust that we will always do the right thing, and we always have the best intentions. So despite times where things aren't clear, miscommunication, no communication at all, we have to trust that it's for good reason. And we have in the past. And that's what's really got us through, is that we know he's family, you know, I'm family to Joel. And, you know, while like family, while you can be apart or you can hang out, or, you know, there's a comfort in it. And it really is couched in our value system and who we are as people, knowing that we would never intentionally hurt each other, say things to hurt each other, or and we always act in the best interest of the company and before ourselves. So we're very aligned on that level. And whether or not we hang out every day or don't hang out every day, we know we'll always be there for each other.
Right.
It doesn't go that we don't come to that that space or that place without a lot of hard work and a lot of work on our both professional and friendship relationships. So it comes with a lot.
So yeah, what advice, what learnings, if you have any, would you give to, like, you know, Tom and I? Because you guys are further down the journey than both Tom and I.
Yeah.
So any advice that, and of course any listener out there as well doing the same thing, is there anything that you would like, I think one of the things you said was, you know, trusting each other. Are there any other kind of?
Well, it calls you to action for sure. And doing this as you guys are doing this asks a lot of you for sure. There is no doubt in that, and it's a hard thing to do, and it takes a lot of work, and you have to be up for that challenge.
Right.
I mean, you signed up for it. You got to own it for sure, and you can't sacrifice this great build of this brand that you guys have built because of miscommunication or whatever. That there's got to be something bigger than you guys, and that's what Sovereign State is for Joel and I.
Right.
Because that banner we fly is very important to us, and it means a lot to us on many different levels. And I have to say, like, in fairness, Joel is the one who established what Sovereign State stands for, and it's become an aspiration for me. It's still an aspiration for Joel to live by that way. And because we can attach ourselves to that, I think it really aligns us on many different in many different situations.
Yeah, and I'm sure when it was starting off, Sovereign State, the two of you, and now I'm sure the journey's been. I'm sure at the beginning, what was it like? It was
in the beginning. Oh my God,
time.
I have to say thanks to Joel's patience and understanding for sure. I came into to Sovereign State with more of a sales background, like we discussed. I actually had no idea what I was getting to. I had no, I really had no experience in the space.
Yeah.
Joel took a shot on me coming into the business based on, you know, his understanding of who I am as a person and my willingness to pick things up and go. The relationship for Joel was really tough. A lot tougher than mine, of course, because he was definitely carrying a lot of weight in the business to bring me up. It took a few years for sure. But Yeah, I had no idea when they said like, "What's the scope of this project?" I was like, who has mouthwash? What's going on?" I had no idea. I literally had no idea. Process. I had no idea, about terminology, nomenclature for certain things, timing, project management. I had no idea. I was learning on the job, and that's where Joel's patience came into play, because typically when you hire somebody, they're not learning on the job. In fact, they're coming with some value.
Right.
So again, he's not here at the moment, but thanks, Joel. Because it did take a lot. And, you come in with a lot of ego too, right? Like I know where I went wrong outside of like, in the relationship, of course, because I was learning,
Right.
and you come in with a little bit of ego as well, right? Like you come in thinking you can add value to a space where you have no understanding about,
Right.
coming from the position that I was in, going into this new one. It was humbling. It was super, super humbling. But we both took the path, made the decision, and lived by it. So I lived by it and was humbled and went through the process of learning, relearning, and starting from scratch. And Joel lived up to the decision that we've made by exercising his patience and helping me along the way. So I'm forever grateful for that, of course. And then, making partner at the business is something that, was earned, of course, over time. But again, having my brother he's my brother, like, my friend, my brother, he's family. He's a great guy for doing it.
Yeah, one of the things, just for the listeners as well. So Sovereign. So how would you best describe Sovereign State and its mission statement? Because we've dropped the name.
Yeah, that would help. So Sovereign State is a brand design consultancy, I'd say. More of a brand design studio, but with a core competency in, branding and brand strategy. So brand strategy is really where we come in and kind of showcase our offering, because it's where all our design is couched in. So really aligning the stakeholder group on, values, archetypes, all these things. Very simply, guys, like what Sovereign State does is, if two parents came into a room and said to dress their kid, they would tell us about their likes and dislikes and all the great things about what it means to have a kid, and what they believe in, and all these values that they want to imbue into their child. Joel, who's a strategist in the business, will find the connective tissue amongst the stakeholders,
Right.
and then create the graphic design to support those values. Very similar to like dressing the kid in. I mean, we're not dressing a kid in like a rock star if their parents are snowboarders, right?
Right.
I mean, the intention is to align at every level. And again, strategy is where it's not to say that we differentiate ourselves from, but is really where the power of our studio comes from. And graphic design is something. Design is beautiful everywhere, right? I mean, you can find great design everywhere.
Yeah.
But design that's resilient and connective, those are really big things, right? Things that are timeless and last a while. And that only comes from a core and a foundation. And I guess that core is in the strategy.
Yeah.
So to answer your question, we're a brand design studio in Toronto. We work with an eclectic client base. So we don't work with a specific industry at all. So we run the gamut from universities on down to startups and hospitality in the city. So there are some prominent businesses that we've worked with, from enterprise on down to hospitality and startup, that we've done the branding for in the city.
Yeah, I know. Me personally, I've been able to work with you guys on two projects now.
Yeah.
So
you came back.
Yeah, I came back. Obviously liked the first project. So which is actually
wearing it. Yeah.
This is Sovereign State designed. Yeah, this is my record label.
You know what? It's funny because we're 100% referral business, and have been for the last, I want to say, 9 years.
Okay.
And it's because of the relationships that we've built, the work that we've done, and everybody in the studio now and in the past has been a part of that. Because that groundswell, man, has been, 10 years in the making.
Yeah.
12 years, 13 years in the making, sorry.
Yeah, and I guess on it, let's talk a little bit about your current team then. It's yourself, Joel, Cyrus, and Yukiko. And it's just the four.
Donald.
Oh, Donald.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't think I've met Donald before.
Yeah, no. He's new. He's actually he's starting. He's starting next week, actually.
Oh, great! So you're expanding.
Yeah, I guess so.
I guess so.
Yeah. I mean, we've always been a small group, or a small team, really agile. We're not a big operation, but we punch above our belt for sure, with the clients that we work with. But we, that small group, we have such a short form together. Like, we work in a small studio. You guys have been there.
Yeah.
So it's a small studio where we work very closely with each other, physically. So, there's a short form that happens or exists between us.
Yeah.
So we can just, be agile.
I'm sure it's easier to bounce ideas off each other.
Yeah. Joel walks over and checks on the design. I am constantly in connection with the designers to see about timing and where they are in the day and make them feel comfortable. We have a unique, I think what we can say is that we have a unique process that Joel and I have kind of developed over the years with project management and client management. So it makes things work.
Yeah, on that, I guess. Yeah, what's the sovereign state process? Say when a new client comes in, wants this brand, you go.
Yeah. So I mean, again, the first thing to initiate a project and what we do is we do the strategy, right? The strategy session, which is Joel led with a designer, and he'll go through the strategic process with the client, ask questions, get what they need.
Yeah, I remember being asked all these questions that I'd never thought about before.
feels like being in the hot seat of a podcast.
Yeah, exactly.
I've never been on a podcast before, but yeah. So that happens, and then we go through a distillation process where we collate all the notes that were taken at the strategy session, create a strategy document, we create insights and share that with the client. And once that's kind of signed off, we move our efforts into design, and again, couch all our design into with the strategy or in the strategy. We start conceptualizing, designing, and 6 to 8 weeks later, we come back with a child that's dressed up exactly the way you'd like. I mean, I think in the end, if you were to ask us what we do, we help very clearly, we help realize the vision of the clients that come and see us.
Right. Bring it to life.
We bring it to life based on their ideas and thoughts, and it's a collaborative process. So, it's funny. I took an Uber recently. Actually, today I was in an Uber. I was in a car with a guy and the driver, and he had asked me. Well, I had asked him what his biggest piece of advice is, and he said that's a really loaded question. And honestly, I feel uncomfortable trying to give you advice. You're older than me. Well, how do you know I'm older? How do you know I'm older than you, bud? No, he asked me for advice, and I said, it's just to create, just to live a life of authenticity, and not to strive for goals so much as being authentic and creating authentic relationships with people. And I think Sovereign State does a good job at that. I think so much of what I do at work translates into my real world in life, enough so that I'm giving advice to Uber drivers. So be careful out there, guys.
Watch out, Uber drivers.
Watch out, Uber drivers.
Toronto.
Yeah. So, man, it's just been a great ride, and honestly, I mean, you guys have experienced it. Like, what was your general feel of working with us outside of no, well, I mean, I guess process and relationship and stuff.
Yeah, well, for me, I know, I've always enjoyed the process and getting I'm pretty good at maybe starting an idea, but then coming to you guys was really good to sort of flesh it out. And as we were saying, sort of give it more life and more structure, and then seeing it seeing the final product then is great. Yeah, I really I always enjoyed the process working with you guys. So
yeah, and I remember when we went and took a look at some options that we had, and I think the word care would have been a big one. And you felt like, I certainly felt like there was a lot of care put into the work, and going back to what you said, the authenticity around the thought process, and like really saying like how it's not just, oh, here's a design, but it's how we got to this design, and like what like what we were hoping to invoke with this design and stuff like. So it was and I think that comes through in Sleepless Studios as well. Like we even got like a direct review about the logos on the doors, and it's such a small detail, and people love that as well. So that has come through.
Yeah, and
that's great.
I guess on that, while we're touching on it now, Robin, I guess we can talk a little bit about the Sleepless brand in itself. So I know, when we originally came to you guys, we sort of had like, I guess, a little bit of a structure, and then we gave it to you guys and let you run with it. What were your, after initial meetings, like, why did you guys want to take the brand the way that you? What was your thinking there?
I mean, I think that's more of a question for Joel and the creative team for sure, because if you were to ask me specifically in the role that I fulfill, because I'm more on the project management side and the account direction side, working with you, and I've told you in the past. I mean, Robin, of course, working with you now would lead to the same result, but we really enjoyed working with you, Tom, and the innovative stuff that you're doing. Sleepless is no different, right? It is innovative. There are some cool things about this space for sure. And when you brought it to my attention, because I think you spoke to me first, I thought it was a pretty interesting project and something to get the creative juices flowing in the studio. And of course, we're inextricably tied to the work that we do. And once we heard of this project, it was always nice. It would be nice to be on the roster and also on the portfolio. So that's why I can say I encouraged us taking on the job. Maybe when Joel comes on the podcast, you can ask him as to why.
Creative.
Yeah. And then just to circle back to that whole idea of authenticity and my Uber driver stuff, I wanted to wait a bit before I really said that the most authentic version of me feels best when in service of in service of a project or goal, or helping people reach that their initiatives or their aspirations. And that's why I enjoy what I do, and why I've been here or at Sovereign State for about 11 years, because we really do, in the end, you're helping people along the process of realizing their vision and making stuff come to life. And that's what I enjoy. And that's the most authentic version of myself, and why I gave that advice.
So question for you. You've been in Toronto now for, working here and probably growing up. And now, if we were to put it on have you seen the brand of Toronto change over the years?
Oh, yeah. It's funny, actually, on YouTube, you can actually watch, there's guys who have videos, they have videotaped them walking through the city of Toronto in the 80s. And then 90s and then 2000s. And you could see how the landscape has changed. And so much of the landscape has changed the brand of Toronto, of course.
Yeah.
When I was younger, Richmond was riddled with clubs, not bars, but clubs. That, of course, has gone to the wayside, and condos are there, and all that stuff. But a lot of people my age, maybe, again, I'm 48, would remember those times of like the clubs and parties and all those things. And while that still exists somewhere in the city, of course, it wasn't like streets where it was mainly for partying. So that's changed. It's not to say that the brand of Toronto has changed because of that. That's more landscape and movement and how you move through the city for sure. I think things are, sprawling a little bit. So brands have become destinations rather than a place to visit, like streets, like as a place to visit, like Ossington for hospitality.
Yeah.
But the landscape has definitely changed in Toronto.
Yeah, big time. Well, it's kind of like, I know a podcast there recently. that reminds me, I need to bring in the hot take wheel. We'll bring in the
Oh, yeah.
hot take wheel at some point.
That's scary.
Well, we have this wheel, and yeah, one podcast, the hot take was, what was it? New York is
Trash.
trash. Yeah. And then we got into this conversation about Toronto versus New York, and then we had this really interesting conversation about New York at the minute is all cool because of its past. There's nothing really currently, it's all because of what's past has brought to it, and Toronto seems to be really creating its own sort of identity in
it's
itself
carving its own path for sure.
at the minute. So it's cool to be like in Toronto now when this
and
is all happening.
there's a few things, right? Like, I mean, COVID, of course, it's over and done with, but there are residual effects of COVID and closures, and you'll see a lot of places on the streets like up for lease and stuff, and a whole bunch of hospitality that's closed, which is a big part of Toronto culture.
Yeah, big time.
A huge part of Toronto culture, but it's coming about, and people, this I think Toronto is becoming a place for the courageous, those who start businesses at this time, despite the economy and what's going on. It's people who really believe in what they want to start. People like you guys started Sleepless in like, a very hard time for sure, and are courageous enough to take that path and have faith in what they're doing and what they're creating, and belief.
Yeah, I mean, on the point of Sleepless, I think for us, going back even with authenticity, like, we're trying to be a space for others to allow themselves to be creative. We're taking the risk so that others don't have to take as much of a risk. You don't have to go out and buy 10K decks. You can go and play here and record. You can work from here.
Wait, sorry, those were 10K? Those decks were 10K?
Yeah, it's about that. Yeah, all of it all
we should
together.
have charged you more, guys. Just no, you guys are doing like for the community, for your passion, for what you guys do, and why you guys have done this. The why is really important. I think that's what we really fundamentally got to with the strategy is the why. Yeah. Understanding why you guys are doing this is important to the community, is contributing, and honestly, people like you, and I'm not tooting your horn, guys, and it's just really why I'm here by myself, like, is because you are people that will leave this world at one point worth inheriting, to either your children or to family or the rest of the community, whatever it may be. But I think you're instigators of change, and this is an example of that, and why we kind of align with you guys. So good on you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I appreciate that. Yeah, thank you.
The tissues are in the.
Oh yeah.
You guys are gonna tear up.
Feel it.
I can see that, Robin. Robin's tearing up. Their glasses are fogging and shit.
No, but like that, obviously. We love working with you guys, and it's great. Everything we do together feels like super authentic, and we see that in the work. And even with the brand, we wanted something, people feel welcome here, and the first thing they interact with is the brand itself. So we wanted
an entry point, right?
Yeah.
The brand is an entry point for sure, and the experience is something that's built with you guys, and I think you guys have carried it forward well. Even walking through the space, it's great. So good on you.
Yeah. I mean, we also have coming up, and we're asking more artists as well to like actually paint in the walls. So in some of the rooms, you'll have noticed like there's white walls where, I think RJ, who's a local artist, is going to come in and do a mural as well, and all that. So
that's awesome.
It's great. We want to capture that part of Toronto as well from the creators that are here.
Yeah, that's awesome. I mean, I think the collaboration doesn't end with music or sound or photography or those things. I think creativity in the city is massive.
Yes.
I think that in itself is a brand within the city, and I think we have a really eclectic base of artists. I think collaborating with them would be great, and I think it's in line with what you guys imagine this place to be. Yeah. A spot of collaboration.
Exactly, yeah, because we want people to be like, you might be photographer in the photography room, walk out, bump into a DJ, and the DJ might be, oh, I need some photos at some point. Can we talk about that?
Yeah.
We want it to be a space for collaborating on everything creative. The community can come together and have this sense of a hub.
Yeah, that's exactly as it should be, for sure.
Yeah.
As long as we don't see you, Tom, in there doing like a Titanic type kind of shoot.
Well, watch this space. Watch this space. You might find that Sleepless TikTok. You might find that on our TikTok. Watch it.
Yeah, it's interesting, and I mean, to go back to that idea of what's like, have we seen the Toronto brand kind of change? It's hard because we don't even like Toronto as a whole. I think our culture is multicultural, right? Like our and that could be, we're multidisciplinary. We're everything. We're a melting pot of greatness. I think, at least, there's a lot of talent in the city. I'm sure you guys are seeing that as people come in and use the space.
Yeah, big time. Yeah.
And is it changing? I think it's enhancing itself. It's getting better. I can't. What a lot of people put comparative, like they compare Toronto to New York, and you guys had mentioned it.
Yeah.
And that is like, I think we're it's an honor just to be even compared to a city of like 10 million people, where we're 6 million in the GTA, which is sprawled out across like, I don't know, 300 square thousand kilometers, whatever it may be.
Right.
The core itself isn't anywhere near, but we're compared to a city that's international like that, and we're becoming that international city. I'm proud to be part of Toronto, for sure.
Yeah, no, I think it's a great place to be, like, right now. It feels like it's really, like we said before, creating its own identity, and then there's lots of art and music, thriving food. Yeah, it's all great, and that all probably comes back to, like you said, there's a great mix of cultures here, and people expressing, like, stuff, sharing
totally.
their cultures and stuff like that.
What makes it great.
Yeah.
Literally what makes it great, I think, at least. Like, you walk down the street, and I mean, you'll find food from different places in the world.
Yeah.
And the best in class.
Yeah.
Right? Like, our hospitality scene is I want to say world renowned. As I guess like a small area or density of great restaurants and restaurateurs. It's awesome.
Yeah. That's great.
Yeah.
Lots going on. So here we have the hot take wheel. This is the third time it's been on camera, because when we started this podcast, it was all just audio.
Am I podcast number 3?
No. This is probably going to be 15 or 16, I think. Yeah. So, yeah.
Wow.
Trying to hit that 20 mark. Apparently 20 is the big goal.
Oh, is it really?
Yeah, Rob. What was it, Robin, you were saying? Most podcasts die before...
Yeah,
20.
something. Yeah, most people that start podcasts don't make it past 20.
Really?
Yeah. So that's the goal. That's the goal. Anyway.
Oh.
So we have the hot take wheel.
I wish I was 21.
Arnold, if you would do the honors.
Yeah, of course.
Give us a wee spin there. Oh. Taco Bell is the best fast food.
I'm only
What are your thoughts?
No.
What is your
I don't know,
go-to?
man. Am I going to get sued for saying this?
No.
Don't worry, we're not sponsored by Taco Bell.
I mean, it's not my preference, for sure.
Yeah.
What is your go-to fast food?
Pizza.
Pizza?
Yeah.
I
have to
think,
say Toronto. Oh, okay, so we were talking about Toronto and New York.
Yeah.
Oh, man, I hate to say it, but Toronto has better pizza than.
Oh. We're gonna clip that.
Yeah.
There's great pizza in New York. Don't get me wrong, guys, but there's some spots in the city here that are.
There is some good pizza here, yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
What's your favorite one?
Well, I don't want to say, because I think we work with.
Oh,
the
okay.
whole, like,
okay.
Yeah,
I don't want to big up one over the other. We work with spots in the city, of course, and I don't want to make one sound better than the other.
No,
anything like that.
That's fair.
But there is great pizza in the city, and yeah. I have my preferences for sure.
Tom, what are your favorites? And Arnold can just
well, I would agree with pizza. Well, there's lots. You'll have to come check them out. Like Batty Alley's. What's that new one? Beast. Is it Beast?
Great
Yeah.
spots.
Yeah.
Great spots.
What's it? Makers? Is it Makers?
Great spots, man. Amazing.
There's a pizza place beside your office that's pretty good. What's that called?
Fourth Man in the Fire.
Fourth Man in the Fire. That's it. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
a good pizza.
That's a
Yeah.
great name.
Donuts.
It's
Good donuts as
the
well.
donuts are incredible.
Yeah, yeah,
The
really
donuts
good
are
donuts.
incredible. You're naming all the ones that are like, on the list for sure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
For sure.
And back to the Taco Bell. I think Taco Bell is disgusting.
So,
Oh,
I
okay.
mean,
So
my-
you guys are being
yeah, no,
honest.
no,
Yeah,
no,
yeah,
no. It's the only person that loves Taco Bell is my partner. For some reason, she has an obsession with it, so I like to throw it in there because she's the only one that I know that likes it.
You know what? I don't know if we were to be honest about Taco Bell. So much of it is nostalgia over taste.
What's the
Right, because, well,
nostalgia?
Well, when you were young, here in Toronto for sure, or when you were young and just in general, anywhere in Canada or anywhere, if you've ever experienced Taco Bell, it was the greatest thing in the world. It was Taco Tuesdays. They had it was accessible and
Right.
easier for kids to eat it, and we did, and when you think of Taco Bell, you think of like the nostalgia behind all of it, like when you were younger with a group of friends eating it together. I mean, it's not the quality is not the greatest. It's fast food, right?
Mm.
And I think people are a little bit more savvy these days and a little bit more conscious of their health. So they don't really engage with fast food as much. But when they think of Taco Bell, it's more nostalgic than it is anything else. Just like KFC,
Yeah.
there's nostalgia. For not brand so much as even just the experience you had as children. You'd get like a $5 allowance. I don't know if you guys got $5. I don't want to. I'm not trying to be an asshole or
like
being like
£2.
righteous in any way. I didn't get $5. I actually got $20 a week on for allowance, guys, because we were balling out of
Oh
control.
damn.
No, I did. No. and you would literally like go to places that you can afford, like Taco Bell.
Yeah.
And you would have first dates there, and you would have like, I'm talking like 14 or whatever,
Wow.
like 13. You'd have, there's so much behind it.
Yeah, because we never had Taco Bell's not a thing in Ireland. So
No.
Oh, really?
yeah, I remember I worked first time I had it. I was working as a painter in the States in Portland, Oregon.
Okay.
And I think we went to go get it at lunch one time, and I was like, never again. This is not happening.
Really?
Yeah. I haven't
Wow.
had it since.
How old were you though?
That must have been like 2015 or something.
Oh.
Almost 10 years ago.
Yeah. How old are you now?
30.
30. Oh,
Yeah,
you
yeah.
guys, wonder why it smelled like diapers in here. You guys are- yeah. So
Zing.
like, I mean, you had at the time you had a little bit more of a mature palate, I guess, or of experience, like
Right.
worldly, cuisines. But
Yeah.
when you were in high school or when you were like a kid, like McDonald's and Taco Bell were
Right.
like the places to go.
Places,
It's
yeah.
what was really cool back in those days was when I was in grade school and my mom would come by with I honestly, having a kid now, she forgot to make me lunch and came by with McDonald's,
Right.
and there's a feeling that comes with that.
Yeah,
And why
yeah.
McDonald's has kind of carried through because of those feelings of like comfort and support,
Right.
when you need it most. I guess when you're older, you start eating it later on at night, like after a club
is
or
it.
something.
This
you
is
know?
it.
Yeah.
It's got
Maybe it
different-
provides that comfort that you need. But I
Different
remember my
comfort.
mom running it to my classroom when I was a kid. So there's nostalgia behind those things.
Yeah.
Behind those fast food spots, right? Like there's not many new fast food spaces that are that have that type of legacy, right?
No.
Like unfortunately Pizza Hut is closing a whole bunch of locations, but Pizza Hut as well had, they had restaurants. It wasn't like fast food like spots. It was a restaurant, and they had some nostalgia. That brand has some nostalgia built into it too. These are institutions, like Taco Bell's one.
Yeah. KFC, McDonald's.
KFC, McDonald's,
Yeah.
Burger King,
Yeah.
Harvey's.
Yeah.
So
There
stuff
we
to
go.
think about, guys, before you put that on the hot take wheel.
There we go. There we go.
There you go.
Talk about. So, anything before we wrap it up? Arnold, anything else you want to plug or announce or anything? Anything coming up?
No, I mean, like, I think maybe I think you've gotten a feel of what sovereign state is through me and
Yeah.
our conversation. I'm sure Joel will be on here and also share his thoughts, and
Yeah.
you guys will get a sense from him, like, you know, what sovereign state stands for, what we believe in, and yeah,
Yeah, and we'll make sure to put socials and contact in the description below. If you have any other questions, yeah, feel free to put them in the comments, or yeah, you can reach out to us on directly on Instagram or our website, email, all of it. We're everywhere. But yeah, until next time, then, peace.
Sleep well.